This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz, and I'm very excited to be speaking with Meredith Scardino about season three of Girls 5eva. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. I'm excited to be talking about this show because it's been a few years, and I know that one great thing about having a lot of streamers around is that if a show gets canceled, it can move to another streamer, or in this
Yes.
case, between different streamers. So, how does it feel to have the show back in this new life?
Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. Yes. I love that there's, a second life potential in the TV world that we're in. So I was just so happy that we got to get the group back together and make more.
I also feel like Netflix is such a popular platform that people are just always on it and always discovering. I imagine you have a lot of people, especially Broadway fans of some of your cast members, who are coming to the show now just new without necessarily even knowing it existed beforehand.
I know it's amazing. There's so many people that, very well intentioned who, when it first came out, even friends and family had been like, yes, I'm definitely going to watch it. And then you're like, and then now they kind of come to you and they say, oh my gosh, I just started your show. Cause it's just like impossible to have, there's so many potential streamers to have accounts for. So I totally understand. And it's really exciting just because Netflix has such a massive reach and they've been really supportive of the show. They love the show. So and it has opened us up to so many new fans, which is great.
Were there any conscious changes that you made when you moved over to Netflix as far as the show's concerned?
Let's see. What did we do? We our order was slightly shorter, so we have a 6 episode order. We've done 8 in the past 2 seasons, and that kind of helped us adhere to like a tighter arc as they were on tour this season. So that was a little bit different. But we honestly like it was kind of what was great is that the show had already existed for 2 seasons. So when Netflix picked it up, they loved, they already loved it. They were fans. So um that was great. So they were kind of like, okay, what would you want to make in a third season? And so we just made that.
I also noticed that the first season was released all at once. Season two was split up a little bit, by episodes, and now season three is all at once again. Is this the kind of show that you recommend that people binge, or it's something you'd rather they sort of savor and split if they haven't seen it yet?
I mean, I will say I think it's a pretty quick binge because it's each season is what, 4 each season's about 4 hours. And so it goes by really quickly. But I will say one of the things that I love seeing is how much people love rewatching it because just there's a ton of density, a lot of high, JPMs, jokes per minute. So it does kind of favor rewatching. And then there's also, we've been fortunate because in the show you see little snippets of songs. But then every season we've put out an album. So we have 3 albums. So there's just like lots to kind of play around with, even though it goes by quickly.
Do you have any songs that you're particularly proud of from season three?
Season 3. Oh, well, I love the song that Sarah Bareilles wrote us this season called The Medium Time. It's try and listen to it and not feel moved in some way. She's just incredible, such an incredible songwriter, such an incredible voice. And it fit, we had the idea for the song, which is sort of like, what's the optimal level of fame where you stay kind of well functioning and enjoying your life. And so that's how we came up with the idea of the medium time. And she just really hit it out of the park as far as uh, executing that concept and bringing so much of her amazing talent to it. It's just amazing. And then there's so many fun songs. I mean, even the Fort Worth song really lives in my head a lot. The group this season, they wrote this very pandery song. They're always trying to get noticed. So they wrote this very pandery song to Fort Worth, Texas, because they realized it was the biggest city in America that didn't have a hit song about it. So they're like, oh, there's a hole in the marketplace. So they wrote this this song about Fort Worth that really is driven by, information from Wikipedia and whatever, because they've never, not none of them have ever been there. None of the characters have ever been there. And then at the end of season 2, it gets a little popular. So that is the first kind of stop on their tour, where they're kind of celebrities again. And it was really fun researching that song and writing a billion jokes about Fort Worth that, and I haven't, but I mean, I think I've been to Dallas once, or maybe I haven't. No, I've been to the airport, but I've never been to Fort Worth. And I saw one article saying that we got a lot right. It seems like we really knew. And my assistant, Julia, is from Dallas, Fort Worth area. So she was very helpful in giving me some hot tips about the dry riverbed and things like things like that. And then
What
I
is the
saw,
best?
wait, sorry. And then I saw a
Please.
thing that it's like the coolest up and coming city in America now. And they were like, hey, maybe Girls5eva knew something here. So good for Fort Worth. But anyway, that was a fun one too. That was a really fun one.
I was going to ask, what's the creative process? Do you start with these snippets of songs and then craft the storylines around them? Or you say, I know we need a song here, it's a placeholder, let's come back to it later?
It can work both ways. So usually it's almost entirely comes out of the story. So we're trying to figure out what the ladies are up to, what their challenges are, what have you. And sometimes a flashback to an old song can illustrate something or whatever. And then you might come up with, oh, what was, you'd say to yourself, like, Wiki had a solo album that failed. Like, what might her solo album have been called? And we came up with Yesternights. It felt like the kind of self-serious solo debut that she might do. But sometimes also, you have an idea for a song. Like I had the idea for the song BPE, Big Pussy Energy, in season 1, and I didn't have a home for it. And then when season 2 came around and they were making their album in the studio, the first time Girls5eva ever had like any agency over what they sang, it felt like the kind of song, the kind of anthem that they would come up with and sing. So then we got to use it there. But it's usually very much born out of story. And if it doesn't fit within the story, it can't be in the show, unfortunately. We try not to like take too many detours or take we try not to take detours that kind of pull you out of the story. So but it is so fun to kind of craft all these like different eras, because you can look back and do their old stuff and do their contemporary stuff, and also things that live completely out of time, like a song like New York Lonely Boy or Home Alone Doorknob, that just sort of score a scene without actually, you don't know where they are, if they are on an album or what.
An impressive feat, I think, because I would describe the show as extremely irreverent. And so the idea that everything has to fit in a show that's supposed to be so absurd, it's a nice sort of balance, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like I think the audience can always tell when you're just you feel it, when you're in a table read and you kind of step out for some somewhat indulgent idea that really has nothing to do with the character's motivations for that episode. Like you can just feel, even if it's funny, even if it works, you can just feel it's dragging a little. So it's those are the darlings you kill.
Well, your mention of BPE reminded me a lot of the introduction of John Early as Chuck Dennis. So I think that's just such a absurd and funny concept. And I think especially casting John, just knowing the other roles he's had in the past,
Oh, he
I think
was
is a brilliant move.
fantastic. He was so fun. He was so funny. I'm a huge fan of his. So that's one of the great joys of this show too. It's just like all the guest actors we get to work with. This season we had so many great people. Richard Kind, we had Adrian Lennox and Ron Canada played Wiki's parents, and um, Catherine Cohen played Taffy England, and we had Thomas Doherty play this kind of Harry Styles character. Anyway, there was just so many great, amazing. There's so much talent in New York. There's so many, somebody can be on Broadway and and they haven't one day off, so you can shoot with them, or they, as long as you wrap them by 5 o'clock, like they can shoot with you. So it's really exciting to be in New York and make this show.
So what's next? I know that there may not be any word yet on season four, but do you
Yeah.
have stuff planned? What would you like? Is there like a full arc of the show that if you could go to season six or seven,
Oh,
what's in the works?
I have no shortage of ideas. I mean, I just have like in my phone, I have this uh in my notes app, I just always throw down ideas that would be fun for these characters. And I do have like a trajectory of what I think happens next in their timeline and as they're kind of launching themselves for real. Like I would like to see what it looks like for them to navigate some success because they've been clawing so much ever since we first met them in season one. And I it would be nice to see them get a little footing and then see what it's like to deal with success. So that's always something I'd like to do.
Do you feel like you want to incorporate things that will be appreciated by new fans of the show, especially Sarah and Renee's fans, for instance, who have come from the Broadway world, or this is sort of its own separate kind of thing?
Wait, I'm so sorry. The beginning of your question got cut off. Can you ask it one more time?
Sure. That do you feel like you want to try to incorporate, Easter eggs and specific references that new fans of the show who have come more recently, who might know Sarah or Renee from Broadway or other things, could appreciate even more?
Well, what's one of those things that I feel like has really people love. There's a moment in season two where the label rep or the producer tells them that the label wants a love song, and Sarah Bareilles just goes, "I'm not going to write a love song just because they asked for it." And so all of Sarah Bareilles' fans were like, like who said that? And I think we wrote like when we scripted it, we wrote it kind of halfway there. Uh and because I didn't want to force her to have to be self-referential. And then on the day, she kind of did the full the full version and thought of it herself. And I was like, oh, that's great. That's fantastic. It's always fun to have a little bit of, fun with the actors' real lives. But what I hope fans just like come. And I also think it's so fun for people to see Sarah Bareilles and Renee Lee Goldsberry, who people know as just being these Broadway and recording artists, megastars, seeing them be so funny because they're so skilled, so funny, so effortless. I mean, well, maybe it looks effortless. I'm sure they're putting in a lot of effort, but it looks effortless. Um, and I think that's really fun. And I also think it's fun for people to see people they already knew were hilarious, like Paula Pell and Busy Phillips, also be pretty solid recording artists. Like they can hold their own. It's pretty satisfying.
Yeah, especially a Mapleworth Murders fan here. Nice to see
Oh
John
yeah.
Lutz and Paula
Oh,
both.
Lutz. Come on, how great is Lutz? He's a real, you know, just a joke bag. Like we would just, and he was such a good sport, because his character has maybe no status, has none. And so, he was often ignored or just the butt of a joke. And he was just so funny. So funny.
Well, we love awards here at Awards Buzz, and I'm curious if there's any other show or performance you've seen recently that you feel is particularly awards worthy.
Oh my gosh. What have I seen? Well, I just, well, this doesn't apply, but I'm just trying to think of the thing I just watched recently but it was a live show. It was this Edinburgh Fringe show that came to New York called Ha 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 Ha. And I went twice in one week. Like I really, really enjoyed it. It was like really, I can't even, it's so much audience interaction and participation. And it had like it was so funny and so uplifting. Like it was really, really wonderful. And I ran into Catherine Cohen there, who, played Taffy, who played Taffy England on our season. So that was, and she said she went back too. So
I like
uh,
that. That's a great answer.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to more people discovering the show and hopefully some
Yeah, me
news
too.
soon on season 4 and beyond.
Yeah, thank you so much for talking to me. It was wonderful.